participation of the permanent representatives of Sudan and Egypt to the UN. We regret to admit that the humanitarian situation in Sudan remains difficult. Almost 3/4 of medical facilities are not functioning. There is a shortage of medicines, and 2/3 of the population do not have access to medical care. The spread of dangerous diseases is being recorded. A serious challenge is the still unimplemented country humanitarian response plan for 2024. We have carefully read the report of the Sudan Famine Review Committee, which covers the period from October 2024 and provides a forecast until May 2025. It states that up to 637,000 Sudanese may face the threat of imminent famine in the near future. At the same time, positive trends are also noted. Over the last reporting period, the proportion of people suffering from malnutrition in the country as a whole has decreased by 1 million people. Let us immediately emphasize, Sudan is not experiencing and cannot experience serious famine. As the authors of the publication emphasize, we are talking only about the risk of such a situation in 5 small zones of the country, 4 of which are refugee camps. Sudan has 7.5 to 8.5 million hectares of fertile land, most of which is irrigated. In this respect, it is significantly ahead of almost all Arab and many African countries. According to estimates by the Sudanese Ministry of Agriculture, the country can harvest 7 million tons of grain in the current harvest year, primarily corn and sorghum, with an average annual demand of 4.5 million tons. As for other key crops, including wheat, Sudan can easily cover its needs through imports. All this data is available to the UNWFP and FAO working in the country. Against this background, the report's conclusions look at least strange. Firstly, its data are purely predictive in nature. Let me remind you that previously published similar reports by the committee predicted an imminent famine in Sudan in September-October 2024. As we can see, such alarmist assessments did not come true. Secondly, the report was prepared remotely, without collecting information on the ground. Let me remind you that back in 2022, representatives of this structure regularly interacted with Sudanese relevant ministries and departments, scrupulously collected information on food security, checked with the country's government, which supplied them with all the necessary information. However, no such trips were made during 2024. We have noted that the committee's assessments are not entirely similar to the analysis conducted by the country team of experts dealing with food security issues, IPC, which, unlike the members of the aforementioned committee, works on the ground and includes both representatives of the UN and various NGOs, as well as government agencies. This is directly stated in the presented report, but unfortunately, no additional explanations are provided on this matter. It would be interesting to know in what areas there are discrepancies in the assessment of the famine situation in Sudan. It is surprising that although the IPC country team continued to check with the Sudanese on the contents of the report until December 24th, without waiting for the completion of this work, the FRC report was distributed in Western media already on December 23rd. Apparently, they wanted to promote unverified speculation on the problem of hunger before leaving for the Christmas holidays. This cannot but raise suspicions regarding possible manipulation of this material. That is, its authors, not considering it necessary to properly coordinate with the Sudanese to verify information based on sources, as was the case in previous years, preferred to create a media hype. It is noteworthy that the IPC and FRC publications use outdated demographic data, which they obtained back in 2022. They do not take into account the significant number of refugees and IDPs or the outflow of residents to other countries. Moreover, the latest report claims to have analysed the hunger situation in 15 of Sudan's 18 states, including Darfur and Kordofan, where access for specialists is limited or impossible due to ongoing hostilities. How then did the authors come to their conclusions, and why are these states coloured burgundy in the publication? A study of the FRC report suggests that the problem of hunger in Sudan is being politicised and exploited to put pressure on the government. And individual members of the Council are eager to pick up on these speculations and bring them up for discussion. It seems that someone really wants famine to finally happen in Sudan. In addition, an important point is left out of the equation: the deliberate obstruction of agricultural work, the distribution of food by the rebels in the areas they hold, as well as their depletion of food stocks. Mr. Chairman, all that I have mentioned certainly does not remove the issues of the dire humanitarian situation in Sudan and the problems of Sudanese refugees in neighbouring countries, as well as the need to take measures to rectify the situation. As we have repeatedly emphasised, in order to increase food security in Sudan, we should take care of the even distribution of food and also resolve the issue of the lack of money for ordinary Sudanese to buy it. We believe that instead of instrumentalising the topic of hunger and humanitarian access, priority should be given to the development of agriculture, access of farmers to sales markets, and the distribution of food voucher programs among the population. We know that specialised organisations of the UN system are carrying out such work. We advocate the expansion of such programs. A reliable support for Port Sudan's efforts to improve the situation with food security for the population should be humanitarian assistance both through the UN specialised structures and their partners, and from all states friendly to Sudan. It is important that it is built exclusively through the central government and is not aimed at promoting its own destructive agenda in the country under the guise of a humanitarian plot. Port Sudan has repeatedly demonstrated flexibility in solving emerging problems. It has proactively opened access for aid through several border points and is working to expand cargo delivery points inside Sudan. At the same time, we urge you not to escalate the atmosphere by demanding that the government remove all administrative restrictions, including the issuance of visas and travel permits. These issues are the sovereign business of Sudan, and demanding automaticity in their resolution means calling this sovereignty into question. Moreover, the refusal to issue visas to a dozen workers out of several thousand can hardly play a decisive role. As for the restrictions on movement imposed by the government, they are largely aimed at increasing the safety of humanitarian workers themselves, who, unfortunately, continue to be exposed to danger in Sudan. For its part, Russia continues to contribute to humanitarian assistance to Sudan. On December 30th, 2024, another batch of Russian food aid in the amount of 70 tons was delivered to Port Sudan. In a broader sense, the solution of humanitarian and food problems in Sudan is inextricably linked with the need for a speedy end to hostilities and a political settlement. After the end of the acute phase of the conflict, it is important to take practical steps to resume the broadest possible inter-Sudanese dialogue. At the same time, we consider any destructive external interference in the affairs of friendly Sudan to be unacceptable. Regarding the regrets expressed today by a number of Western countries in connection with the draft Security Council resolution that we blocked on November 18th, we would like to emphasise that we will not allow unbalanced decisions of the Council in the future that undermine Sudan's sovereignty and territorial integrity in favour of external sponsors of instability. We are convinced that the Sudanese people can and must independently resolve their internal problems. Thank you for your attention.